What's going on, guys? I got a new series I'm trying out now. I'm going to call it After Capture, and it's basically just going to be about me detailing my workflow process, editing photos, post-processing basically. I'm going to show you kind of just how I work, my editing style, if you will. I'm still maturing it, but I'll show you kind of how that works. So the software I use is actually from Skylum Software. I use Luminar 3, that's their newest one. It just came out last December. And then for high dynamic range HDR photography, I use Aurora 2019. So if you don't have those, I highly recommend them, by the way. I'm not affiliated with them, but I really like their software. It's great. You only have to pay for it once too, so if you use any of the subscription kind of models, I know like Adobe has those. If you don't like those, I highly recommend Skylum Software. But that's what I'm going to be showing you for these. I'm going to edit this photo here. So today I'm just going to show you for this first video. It's a wildlife portrait of a white-tailed deer. I got this little doe. This was like last weekend at Glen Helen Nature Preserve, and it's a really beautiful portrait. I think it's got tack sharp on the eyes and all that, so it's just staring right back at me, and it's kind of just the upper torso as well. So I'm just going to basically be showing you how it works. My workflow is very spontaneous. I really don't, I have like a certain kind of set of tools I use, right, in my workspace, but I really don't follow, the same exact things every time, I mean, like in this case, since it's a wildlife portrait, I will, have the same set of tools, but photography in general, I'm very spontaneous, I go from one thing to another, I'm very, fast-paced about it. Ideas are always coming to my head. So when it comes to post-processing, I'm very, so when it comes to post-processing, I'm usually very fast-paced about it. I usually only spend more than a few minutes on an image. I'm not really, most images don't require that much anyways, to really flesh them out. But so we'll see how long this one takes. Might as well just get started now. I was actually having some technical difficulties with Luminar 3. It just came out, and I find it's very sluggish on my computer, to be honest, but I'm just going to be showing you actually in Luminar 2018, which I find to be very stable on my desktop. But so anyways, I'm just going to start off by adjusting clarity sliders here, just kind of getting a feel for it. So let me just, before I actually start, let me just say kind of my style, I guess, is I want to capture the colors. Obviously I want to show you kind of what I want to make you feel something, I guess, from the image, and I want to show you kind of what what I saw in the moment per se, so I want to edit it to kind of just reflect all that, and I want it to be, I'm not one for the over the top dramatic effects. I mean, I do experiment with that, especially in camera as well, but I mainly just want to show you kind of how it works and the whole, the workflow with it. So I don't know how long I'm going to spend on this, but we'll just see how it goes. Now the image is pretty well exposed, I would say. You got the histogram up here you can check out, and so I shot the image at ISO of 1000 because it was fairly dark. It was early in the morning. It was about around 8:30 a.m. I would say this past weekend. I use my Tamron, the 150 to 600 lens. I have the first series one, not the G2, though I definitely recommend the G2 because they do correct a lot of the kind of the wider apertures with like the softness and stuff. But I definitely like the first Tamron as well. I mean, it's not a bad lens for wildlife photography. And then I have an f-stop over 6.3, so just kind of really dialing into that, making a very out of focus background, so it really just emphasizes this wildlife portrait. So I'm going to, now I shoot in RAW, which I highly recommend. When I started out, obviously, like most people, I used just regular JPEGs and all that, and that was fine for me at the time. But once you kind of understand and overlook the limitations with RAW files, or JPEGs, excuse me, you kind of understand, hey, like raw files are really important. I mean, sure, they do take a lot more, post-processing and work on your end, but I do feel like you get a lot of more, because what it does is it keeps the original image basically, And so what you have to do is you have to open that image up before you can truly make it like a image, you know, image file. You have to open it up in software such as Luminar, and then just kind of, you have to bring back all the details, the colors, the white balance. You have to bring all that back out. So it's kind of like a little bit of like, you have to remember how the image looked basically. And so I've been shooting in RAW for about the greater part of 2 or 3 years, I would say. And I highly recommend, I recommend it if you're like a new or an amateur photographer. I highly recommend you shoot in RAW. Just from the get-go, really, honestly. You know, there's no reason not to. There's plenty of RAW editors, file editors out there, and stuff like this. Luminar would be really good to use. So, I'm just going to bump up the exposure here just a tad bit. Yeah, there we go. Because it's a little too dark for me, at least on my monitor. I mean, my brightness is up pretty high, but I also have calibrated. I have 2 monitors here, but on my main one, the larger one, I calibrate both of them, you know, with an X-Rite color. It's an I1 display. Sorry, I had to check. But yeah, I calibrate the monitors with that, and so I find it really helpful. And actually, one thing that slightly bugs me about this image, now I'm thinking about, is I'm gonna not crop it, but I'm just gonna like adjust the tilt, because the way like this doe's neck kind of looks to me. There you go. Excuse me. Yeah, I feel like that's a lot better, but so yeah, like I said, I want to capture what's in the moment. So I want to be like, I want to capture that kind of feeling of awe that I was in when I was capturing it, which I did feel that kind of thing. You know, I was these deer, there's 2 of them. There's a larger, I'm pretty sure the male was the larger one. This is the smaller doe, and they're just both. So my memory card got full from, you know, shooting all this video. You know, it's tons of gigabytes of data. But anyways, so I want to really capture what was in the moment, you know, when I was taking the image, and that really involves, I would say, you kind of have to reflect that in the way you edit it. I know that sounds kind of, you know, hokey pokey, but you really have to just kind of like, so like what I'm saying is like you want to edit for the emotions. I mean, you want to make a technically great photo, of course, but you want to edit for kind of like the emotions you felt. And so what I mean is like, when I'm editing this image of the doe, I'm gonna make it very kind of ethereal and beautiful. Like I'm gonna make it very striking. You know, I want to make it something that you just look at and just like, you know, I hope, you know, at least you gasp and be like, wow, you know. So that's kind of what I'm going for with this, because it kind of, the lighting especially too, because it's a very like overcast, cloudy day. I'm gonna make it very just, yeah, beautiful, I guess is what I'm going for. So I'll just keep editing this now. Now I'm gonna mess a little bit with this contrast, just a little bit. Like I said, you at first, like when you're learning, especially if you're trying out new tools and sliders, I definitely recommend that you go, you know, just take your mouse cursor and just drag it, you know, back and forth to all the extremes, right? Because you know, that's kind of how you learn, you know, just how it'll look basically. And so that's how I learned, at least, and I've heard other, you know, pro photographers say the same thing. You know, you just want to just experiment, you know, just have fun with it. You know, it doesn't have to be anything too serious, but at least get. But then kind of once you learn how these sliders work and how they affect the image and stuff like that, then you can start, you know, the real like micro adjustments and stuff. Because like I said, you don't want to be too drastic in your, you know, your editing, you know, with pretty much any slider really. So I always try to just, you know, I err on the side of caution, where I just, you know, little micro adjustments here and there, and just go from there. So move the slider a little bit more. It's looking pretty good, especially with that crop. I think it really just helped out, you know, a lot with that, you know, because I don't know, I'm probably a little obsessive, you know, about neatness, but you know, I think it looks a lot better that way. So now Skylum Luminar has this cool little, they have some like special filters that are only, you know, exclusive to this software. So one of them is Accent AI filter, and this one really is just amazing. You know, it does so much detail. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but see just big difference. Like I was talking about, just sliding the slider back and forth. Now I'm not going to go for this necessarily, but I definitely feel like it brings out more contrast and detail, you know. Because let's be honest, it's a little flat right now, but you know, we're going to work on it here. So I feel like it really helps out with the background as well. Not too bad. Okay, that's enough, yeah. Probably put a little too much, but I mean, it looks pretty good, I think. And then also there's before and after sliders. So it kind of shows you, see how flat and dry it looked before. Now it's really bringing out the detail. And then I don't really like using the slider one as much, but I definitely like to use this one where you just click it and it shows you right there before and after. It goes back and forth. So yeah, it's getting better, definitely. Bringing up the brightness too a lot more, and you know, definitely the contrast as well. Another essential I pretty much use for all my photo editing is the detail slider, and this is kind of like takes the place of sharpening for me, because it brings out more details obviously, but overall it kind of sharpens the whole image, and it's pretty neat because they have small, medium, and large, so you can kind of choose. It kind of automatically sets, you know, the details in the image. So depending on the image, I do choose the different between those sizes. And then you can choose the, you know, protection and masking, if you will, for that. But I'm definitely going for this one. Probably do small. And I'll just very, very gently, because this brings out noise a lot more, I notice, if you really just crank it up all the way. So be very, you know, judicial with this one. Be careful. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got it at small, and I just used 10. So I feel like that's a good amount. And I definitely see the difference here. I think that helps out a lot. And I got this polarizing filter. I could use it. See how it kind of blues everything? It blues like the whites, especially in that background there. I might use a little bit, but just a little bit. Like I said, nothing too drastic. Okay. Yeah, there's the sharpening. I'm actually gonna get rid of that module just because I said like the details enhancer already kind of helps out there. Now vignetting, I'm definitely going to do that because I feel like on wildlife portraits it kind of helps to just make a very subtle, you don't want to overdo it where you can clearly see the black, or if you do use white, you know, ring around the image. But I definitely feel like, you know, if you put a very subtle vignette around the image, kind of helps with like portraits like this. It helps kind of put the emphasis on the subject, which this one happens to be, you know, staring dead on, and it's, you know, dead center as well. So I'm just going to put, yeah, see the difference there already? If you double click these sliders, it goes back to default, but yeah. Very, very, very subtle. You don't want to, you know, overdo it. Alright, I'm going to keep it there. I might adjust it some more, but I think it's good enough for now. Now denoise, I have that on here still, but I really don't see a need for it. Even at ISO 1000, I don't see, you know, it's not too noticeable for me. Now, dodging burning, that's very important, I would say, for this one, because a little technique I learned was you use the lighten tool on dodge and burning, and what you do is you kind of you pitter patter the face a little bit just to brighten it up, so it puts more, you know, your eyes are more drawn to it. But I definitely use it a lot on the eyes of whatever animal or bird or whatever I'm, you know, photographing. So I'm definitely going to use it on this to really lighten up this eyes, especially, you know. So it really just, you know, puts emphasis on it basically. Okay. I'm just gonna darken it. I don't really like how that looked. You live and learn, you know. You gotta kind of go overboard first to really see, you know, what the software is capable of. But then, you know, you should really kind of, once your style kind of matures and your post-processing techniques, you know, develop, you gotta really, you know, you'll learn how, you know, what right from wrong, or just what doesn't look right versus what does, you know. I was about ready to ask, what do you think? But by the time you see this, it'll already be done. But the good thing about actually raw files is that they're non-destructive, so you can edit them as many times as you want, and it does not degrade like the image quality. Whereas JPEGs or anything else, the more you open, copy, paste, edit it, resave, it actually degrades. I mean, it's very small details in pixels, but it does degrade the image over time. Those are lossy is what they are, but raw files are lossless, where it preserves the detail. So that's another thing. If you want to future-proof your portfolio and your images, I would definitely recommend that you save in raw. Back this up, of course. Just finished the dodging and burning. I think it looks pretty good. And really, you can zoom in here and kind of see. It's pretty neat because you can see, the catch light in like the reflections in their eyes as well, which I think is really neat. Yeah, okay, I clicked done all that. Curves, I could, let's try something here. See if you can really, too dark, way too dark. Alright, just very little. I'm not gonna use that too much. I think it looks pretty nice though. Overall, it's looking pretty good so far. I feel like it's missing something though, which I'm still trying to figure that out. I'll just kind of take a, step back and kind of look at it, really just kind of see what it looks like. Another filter that Luminar has is the Orton effect. I don't think they're only software that has it, but it's definitely a cool one that kind of it equally sharpens and softens parts of the images, and it kind of intelligently kind of figures it out basically, which is really neat. Just gonna try something here. Yeah, see what I mean? It gets really soft if you really drag it out all the way. But I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. I always like to check after each adjustment I make, even if it's big or small. I like to always, check just the before and after, just to kind of see where I've been at and where I'm going with it. Helps to double check basically. I'm gonna add a little more of the detail slider, or the enhancer, excuse me. Overall, I think that looks pretty good. One thing I just remembered, HSL, which is hue, saturation, and luminance. I'm actually pretty new to using it, but it's one that most pro photographers, I would say, use. Basically, it just has all the different colors that you'd have. It has sliders for each one, and you can just adjust, saturation, hue, saturation, luminance, basically, and you can adjust that for each color, which is pretty neat. So if you really, because like in this image, there's lots of you see like some blues, some grays, not blues, but some dusty grays. There's a little bit of blues in the eyes, but it's lots of like soft, kind of like taupe, browns and stuff like that. And so I could really bring those out, which I'm going to try that here and just see how it looks. So I'm going to take this orange one. Just going to, see what I mean about the drasticness? Look at that. You don't want to do that. At least if you're going for a natural portrait like I'm trying to do here. But yeah, try saturation. Now I think of it, I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm not going to edit that out just because I want to show you kind of, the thought process, at least I have. And also just want to say that there's no right or wrong way to post-process your photos. Everyone does it differently. So this just happens to be this is one example, of course, but this happens to be kind of like, gets you an idea of how I would do it. But definitely everyone, there's many billions of tutorials you can find. and everyone does it differently. But this is just one example, of course, from me. But just kind of getting you an idea of what I would do. Honestly, I think it's pretty good. I might put a little more vignetting on there, just a little bit more. And then a tad bit more details. Overall, I think it's pretty good. Like I said, it's a pretty big difference, I would say. Luminar is great software. I really like what they're doing. Skyrim software. See, we went from this kind of, I saw it like in the field. I saw it and I was like, this is gonna be good. You know, I was like really excited. I was like, this is great. You know, it's probably one of my best white-tailed deer portraits. But just seeing it now, you know, finally I'm editing it. Like I said, this is my first time actually doing it. Kind of get to see my reactions, but I definitely think it looks far and away better. You know, now that I've kind of put the time into looking at it. So from here, I just I go over here, then right-click, and I just do export. And then I save them as JPEGs. I know I don't really mess with TIFF files, at least right now. I know some people like to save as TIFF, and then you know they export as TIFF, and then they save it as JPEG, and they have those two kind of divided, you know, split copies of it. But I just go straight to JPEG. I don't see I personally don't see a need for TIFF files. I feel like that's more like what photojournalists would use, basically. So I just go straight to JPEG. And one thing I definitely recommend, because for a long time I saved on this quality slider right here, I did save it as 100%, just thinking like, oh, well, why would I have less quality in the image? But actually, I've learned is if you save it around 80, which is what I save them at now, if you save it at 80% for quality, it actually preserves the same image, you know, pixels and all that, the DPI, dots per inch. It saves that the same amount, but for a smaller file size. So you're actually getting a lot more out of that than going, you know, straight to like even 90, 95, 100. But you're also getting a smaller file size, which in the long run is very important, you know, because if you have, you know, thousands upon images like I already do, you know, you want to have good, you know, good hard drive space for that, you know, sufficient storage, and plus the images will load faster, stuff like that, like on your web page or whatever, which I find very important. But so I always save mine at 80%, and then for color space, I just do the sRGB. I just find that, you know, it works for everything. If I upload these to contests, you know, it works out pretty well. I know some people use the Adobe, and there's also a ProPhoto one here on Luminar you can use, but I just always, my default's sRGB for color space. I'm going to keep the size the same, resize, no. Sharpening, I could do like a low grade sharpening, but the thing is I already do that, you know, when I'm editing it. So there's really no need to, you know, sharpen it again. Plus that introduces noise, you know, if you don't know. And then like I said, you can save as JPEG. There's all those other file formats, you know, even like PDF. You know, I've never done that yet, but I don't see really a need to. But I guess it's kind of cool that they include that feature. And then there's a PNG and then TIFF, like I said. But here, yeah, I have my file destination where I want to, you know, locate the file, which would be kind of my portfolio folder with my finished, you know, JPEGs that I've outputted. But this is kind of the space where I name the file. So what I do is basically, in this example, since it's like it's an animal or wildlife, it's a species, what I do is I usually type in the English name for it. So in this case, it'd be white-tailed deer. And then I learned this, I've kind of been doing this recently, starting to, within the past year, I mean recently. I've been cataloging kind of for the long term, thinking like future-proofing my catalog, if you will. I'm gonna, what I do is I take that name and then I do like a little like acronym basically. So in this case it'd be WTD. So this is normally how I do it, is just the species name and then I do the acronym immediately after that. And then from here I usually do like the number. So the number would just be like the next image in that set. So this, without checking, let me double check actually, but basically I have a lot of white-tailed deer images, you know, made and outputted. But this would be, let me double check just to be sure. So what I do is I just put in the number basically for this next one I've made. So I have 28 right now at the time of this video. I have 28 images already made. So this would be number 29. So I just put 29. So I got white-tailed deer WTD 29, and that's just how I save them as my file format. And I find that very easy. So if I know the acronym, obviously I could just put, if I'm searching on my file explorer, I could just put WTD or white-tailed deer, and it'll pull up all those 29 images. So I find that works very well. This is, like I said, there's no right or wrong. This is just how I do it. This kind of the style that works for me, I think. But like another example would be like, let's say a northern cardinal. That'd be northern cardinal NC O, like put a 0, blah blah, or whatever else you want to put. So, or if it's like a, I don't know, a deciduous tree, I put deciduous tree, DT, and then the number, and just go from there basically. But like I said, that's just how it works for me. That's how I do it. So, all right, now I'm going to just export it, and it'll just go to its destination. That's pretty much it. So pretty easy. I mean, I spent more time. This video is going to be longer than it normally would spend because I have to edit it, and I'm kind of like talking you through the details. But if I'm just editing the image straight, I'm usually pretty fast about it. I usually kicking them out pretty quick. But obviously you don't want to rush it, of course. But spend as much time as you think you'll need, because definitely some images require more attention, I would say. Other ones not so much. Sometimes you just want to convert it to JPEG straight. You don't even want to like mess with edits or anything. But that's pretty much it. So this is just for my first video of after capture. Like I said, that's my little series I'm going to start here. So every now and then I'm just going to take an image I've shot recently, and then I'm just going to show you just kind of the process. So the next one will be probably different from this. It might be like a landscape or something, but we'll see how it goes. But until next time, guys, take it easy and get out there.